Hey guys, Augiesaint here and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I gotta share this build with you guys. Shred Druid is absolutely insane right now. Super fast, really fun to play. I would say it's the fastest or one of the fastest builds in D4 right now. And it's not even that hard to put together. You don't need any uniques for it, but the uniques do buff it and make it a lot better to play and easier and faster overall. But you can definitely play it without them. I am playing it without the biggest one right now, without Storm Cowl or whatever it is, the helmet that drops. It just doesn't want to drop for me. I'm actually playing it without that. And as you can see in the background, it's absolutely annihilating everything. Really fast and great. This build is inspired by Moxie's build and Karth's build of the Shred build. Shred Druid, I kind of put like my own thing together after going through all of their work and stuff. So shout out to them for this build as well. Heavily inspired by their work. And as well, this build will be up on Mobilytics, so you guys can follow it online over there. I will have the link and all that stuff down below in the description, so make sure to check it out. But without further ado, let's just hop straight into the build and get to the madness. Alright, let's have a look at the skill tree. So we'll start out with Storm Strike, Enhanced Storm Strike, and Fierce Storm Strike. You don't really use that all that much, except for early on in gear progression. If you don't quite have the cooldown to be in Grizzly Rage 99% of the time, you will be out of it a couple of seconds during rotations, and then you get to use Storm Strike as a damage reduction for 3 seconds. After using it there, you get 25%, as well as applying Vulnerable. There's another place to apply Vulnerable. Just a nice, really good basic skill to have in the build. So that's the reason I picked that up. Then we come on down and pick up 1 point in Heart of the Wild, really to get down to Wild Impulses. Your core skills cost 9% more Spirit, but deal 15% increased damage. The spirit cost doesn't really matter all that much for the build, as we have a lot of spirit cost reduction, as well as Grizzly Rage giving us a massive reduction with an aspect we are using. So we really only just get the flat damage from that. Really good passive. Then we come on down to Shred, the bread and butter of the build. Massive damage on Shred. You want to get as many points into Shred as you can, making it mandatory to get plus Shred skill on your gloves. You must get those for the most damage you can do. As well as on the Mad Wolf Glee chest, you can actually get increased to all wolf skills. You don't need that, but more damage is more damage. And then we get Enhanced Shred with Primal Shred. Shred's second and third attack also perform a dash. In addition, Shred's critical strike damage is increased by 30%. I believe that is multiplicative. It does show an X, so it should be. So massive crit damage, as that is what we will be stacking and focusing on the build, is crit strike damage. And then we pick up 3 out of 3 in Predatory Instinct. This is only really to help if you don't have the Gibbous, unique, the axe that gives you 100% crit strike, then this helps you to fill in the gaps when you're not critting, or like just before you get into Grizzly Rage, to start building up all your crit over there. Just really good to have, as well as on bosses when you can't kill any enemies to proc the aspect. And then we pick up this one over here to give you movement speed. I'm not going to try and say that name, we're just going to call it Digigate. So we pick up Digigate for the movement speed in werewolf form. Really nice. And then we come on down and we pick up Cyclone Armor, Enhanced, and Preserving. Every 10 seconds, Cyclone Armor intensifies, causing incoming damage to grant you 30% damage reduction for 2 seconds. Now this does stay up permanently even while you are in werewolf, so really good on that. As well as if you do get the Storm Cowl or whatever it's called, the helmet, I'll try and link it on screen for you guys now, the unique that turns your Storm stuff into werewolf stuff, then this will also gain +2 because of the Mad Wolf's Glee. So making it a little bit better. I believe it might even reduce the cooldown, but doesn't really matter too much for the cooldown, as the activate only really knocks back enemies. So it's not that important. Mainly picking it up for the damage reduction, and as well that one over there for the 30% damage reduction every now and then. And then Blood Owl, this one, you must have Blood Owl, really important for the build. Pick up Blood Owl with Enhanced Blood Owl and Preserving Blood Owl. Blood Owl also increases your attack speed by 15% for 4 seconds. As well as healing you. That's another really important one there. You can spam this, and then every time you kill, reduce the cooldowns of Blood Owl by 1 second. So this buff you can pretty much keep up all the time, as well as having the heal up really often. And then that all ties into this as well with Vigilance. You gain 15% damage reduction for 6 seconds after using a defensive skill. This is a defensive skill. This lasts for 4 seconds. This lasts for 6 seconds. You can pretty much always have this up, so always have that up. Very nice to have these two working together like that. And those items is the item contribution is from the chest piece, because it is a werewolf skill. So buffing it like that. And then another side note for this is early on, you might actually be running out of spirit because you don't have enough spirit cost reduction or cooldown to get into Grizzly Rage. then you could definitely use this instead of preserving. I was actually doing that myself until recently, when I could actually manage to get all the spirit cost reduction that I needed. So definitely want to be using that, because if you don't have any spirit, you can't deal any damage. So then the damage buff doesn't help you, because you're not doing any damage. So let's move on with skipping companions completely. Don't need them at all. And then we pick up Hurricane, Enhanced Hurricane, and Savage Hurricane. Enemies affected by Hurricane deal 20% less damage, and the enemies who are damaged by Hurricane are slowed by 25% for 2 seconds. Really nice, just have it overall. As well as picking up this point of here, Elemental Exposure. Your Storm skills have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable. So that is basically the same as having Natural Hurricane. And then this over here will increase the duration of Hurricane. And then we come on down and pick up 1 point in Neurotoxin. Really to just unlock these two over here. Toxic Claws, critical strikes with werewolf skills deal 23% of their base damage as poisoning damage over 4 seconds. Really important, as poisoning damage has a lot to do with the Paragon tree and just how this whole build functions, you know, as a general. And then Envenom, poison enemies take 60% additional critical strike damage. I believe it's only 30 if you don't have the item contribution. This is on my amulet, and you want to try and get that on your amulet. It's very important, because more crit strike damage is just crazy, and it's going to stack through the roof and do insane damage for the build. And then we come on down to our ultimate, picking up Grizzly Rage, Prime Grizzly Rage, and Supreme Grizzly Rage for the Life, Fortify, and the Unstoppable. And then we gain over here Defensive Posture, increase the amount of fortifying you gain from all sources. Then we go with 15% chance when struck to fortify you for 4% of your base life. Really important, as it's going to help proc one of our aspects as well as this one also helping to proc our aspect with the Fortify. And then Unrestrained reduces duration of control impairing effects by 9%, triple effects while you have Fortify for over 50% of your maximum life. And then last but not least, we pick up Lupine Ferocity. Every 6 werewolf skill hit critically strikes and deals a 70% increased damage. So that's going to do insane amounts of damage, as you can see me just obliterate the butcher in the beginning of the video. And this is going to obliterate bosses and anything that stands in your way. So that is it for the skill tree. So bring up the gear, and then these are the stats you really want to be looking for. Cooldown reduction, maximum spirit. You could also get maximum life instead. I believe that could roll on the helm. Total armor and all stats is really good to help you get stuff in your Paragon tree. And then the aspect on here, you could really put whatever you want, although I found this one to be the best one. You gain damage reduction while shapeshifted into a werewolf. I couldn't really find anything better to put there. So that is what we go with, until we can obviously get the Storm Cowl, or whatever it's called, the unique for the werewolf one. That is what you ultimately want to be using with this build. And then we come on down to Mad Wolf's Glee. Now this is a unique, you don't need it, but it is nice. It's basically just a pure damage boost to the build. So if you are pushing into the higher nightmare stuff, you actually don't want to use this. You want to use something like this, with damage reduction from enemies that are poison, and then you could reroll that intellect to damage reduction from close enemies, or any kind of armor or anything like that, anything defensive, or even willpower if you want it for more damage. But this is something you will be looking at instead of using the Mad Wolf's Glee. And then what you could put on there as an aspect is Debilitating Roar is now werewolf skill. In addition, Debilitating Roar will immobilize poison enemies. And then what you could actually do is you swap out Cyclone Armor for Debilitating Roar, or you could even swap out Hurricane. You got to really play around with that, but that is just, I haven't actually tested that much, because I like it how it is set up like this. So just giving you guys that option. And then let's move on down to the gloves. You go with Attack Speed, really important for the build. Storm Skill cooldown reduction, so pretty much all of these things over here, and that's going to turn them all into werewolf stuff as well later on once you get the helmet. Ranks of Shred, that is mandatory, you definitely need that. And then critical strike damage with werewolf skills, also really important. And the aspect is your core skills deal up to 40% increased damage based on the amount of Fortify. That's why it's important to get Fortify in the passives like we have, just for more damage. And then on our pants, we really just go for maximum damage reduction. As you see there, we have 4 rolls of damage reduction. We have flat damage reduction from close, from distant, and from poison enemies. And then we also run with disobedience aspect on them for just more damage reduction. Then on our boots, you really want to try and get spirit cost reduction over here. This is the biggest thing I would say to aim for. And then willpower, fortify gen, all stats, anything good after that. Movement speed is also good, but you are, I believe, capped in wolf, so it doesn't actually help you that much. So I would rather say look for something like willpower, all stats, spirit cost, that kind of stuff. And the aspect we are using there is while Hurricane is active, you gain 2 ranks to your shape-shifting skills. So while Hurricane is active, you'll get +2 to Shred, and I believe this one as well. Yep, but mainly the Shred over there, so you'll gain 2 more points to Shred, so actually going to go up to a 14. It's a lot of damage. It's beautiful. And then the Waxing Gibbous is the unique axe that we end up using. Gain stealth for 2 seconds when killing an enemy with Shred. Breaking stealth with an attack grants ambush, which guarantees critical strikes for 2.1 seconds. This can go up to a 2.5 second, not a bad roll over there. Obviously you don't need this, but it does make the build come online a lot faster when you do. If you don't have this, you want to look for vulnerable and crit strike damage, really important on those, and damage to poison or damage to close enemies. And then the aspect you want to put on your weapon is actually Edge Masters if you do not have the Waxing Gibbous. So just keep that all in mind. Then we move on to the amulet. You want to look for something with Envenom, really important, cooldown reduction, and then spirit cost reduction. I do not have spirit cost reduction on this, and this is already up to close to 4 million reroll on this. If I could just get that dexterity to reroll into spirit cost, this would be really good. I mean, the control impaired duration is not that great, but the cooldown and the venom is really important. That's why I actually chose to stick with this, but I really want to get spirit cost reduction on my neck, as you can get a big chunk of spirit cost reduction over there. And then the aspect we use is the Dire Wolf aspect. Grizzly Rage now shapeshifts you into Dire Werewolf. As a Dire Werewolf, you gain movement speed instead of damage reduction and spirit cost reduction bonus. In addition, kills heal you for 10% of your maximum life. So really, really good over there. That's how we get the spirit cost reduction. 75% we put on the amulet for that reason over there, as it gives you massive spirit cost reduction. And then we come on down to the rings with Crit Strike, Vulnerable, Lucky Hit, and Crit Strike damage while in werewolf skills. And then as well, Crit Strike Chance, you can kind of play with it as well. But just make sure you do have vulnerable damage and critical strike damage. That crit chance, I wish that could have actually been crit damage to then stack twice with a double crit damage on it. That would be really good. And then a lucky hit as well. And then the aspect we use is crit strike with core skills, increase your attack speed. As the core skill is our shred, and attack speed, we're just going to go really fast and really crazy. And then our other ring, again, crit strike damage, lucky hit, vulnerable, and crit strike damage. This one over there is much better as we drop the crit chance and we got the crit damage instead. So this is more or less like a perfect ring. You could also get max life on there if you wanted to just get a little bit more tankier. And I would say probably drop the crit damage with werewolf skills, because I believe that doesn't scale as well. So if you were to drop something, that is what you look at, or even a lucky hit. Decide between those two if you want to change to maximum life. And the aspect we're using is duration of Grizzly Rage increased by 5 seconds. In addition, critical strikes while Grizzly Rage is active increases your crit strike damage by 10%. And then on our totem, we are really going for cooldown reduction and spirit cost reduction. Those are the most important on the totem. As you can see, my spirit cost reduction rolled the minimum, and the cooldown rolled like a pretty low as well. So this totem of mine could easily be replaced. And then damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned, and that dexterity, you could actually get willpower on it instead. Really good totem that would be to get. So that's what I'm still hunting. And then the aspect we're using, critical strikes with shred, deal 26% of the damage dealt as lightning damage to the target and surrounding enemies. That's how you see the shred doing like good AoE damage, because you don't really have AoE clear as the shred build, but with this it adds a little bit of AoE damage, and there's nothing else to really put there in its place. So that is what we're going for on the armor. And then let's have a look at the spirit boons. We will be using awareness on the deer. We'll be using swooping attacks with attack speed on the eagle. A lot of people use Avian Wrath, but this is actually not multiplicative. So that tooltip needs to get changed over there. It's not as good as what it seems. It's only additive. So I rather prefer to use the attack speed, as it's really important for the build. And then we pick up extended duration of ultimate skills by 25%. And then this one you could really put anywhere you want. I guess you could put it there, you could put it there as well, but we just put the second one of that. Dealing damage has up to 50% chance to restore 10 spirit. I do that because I don't actually have good spirit cost reduction. As you guys have seen, I'm missing quite a lot. Or you could even, but that is what I want to use it on eventually. Fortify for 10% of the maximum life when you use a defensive skill, and obviously we'll be using this a lot, so you'll gain a lot of fortify, and fortify just synergizes really well with the build. So that is what I will be using eventually, once I can get my spirit cost reduction on my gear. And then down in the snake tree, we are using masochistic. Critical strikes with shapeshifting skills heal you for 3% of your maximum life. It's just more healing to all of our stuff. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the Paragon tree. This will all be up on the Mobilytics site, so let's get into it without further ado. We go up to right here, pick up Prime, we go into the middle, get Exploit, really good glyph that everybody should try and get as their first glyph, and the first board does have a lot of dex on it as well, especially once you level up the glyph you can get that added dex over there. So that's how you want to go. You go up the left, you grab Impel, we go on up, and then we will be attaching Ancestral Guidance. This does give you a lot of damage, as you do actually spend a lot of spirit all the time, with Shred attacking so fast and the spirit cost reduction, but then the spirit regen and everything coming into play. You get this buff quite a lot, and it is 30% increased damage for 5 seconds. Trust me, it's big damage. You can play without it. Literally just take the point off and then run through some mobs and kill stuff, and you'll see the damage difference once you put the point back on. And then we come on back over to grab some maximum spirit over here, with spirit on kill, and you want to beeline all the way up to this one, core skill damage. We work your way around to grab the Undaunted glyph over here, and then we also grab Harmony, core skill damage. And then don't go this way. I would suggest while you're leveling, you come back up and we go up to this top gate, and we'll actually elect the Lust for Carnage board, as the critical strikes with werewolf skills restore to spirit. Really good, really on with the spirit cost reduction, everything being so hard with managing a spirit. So you want to come up here straight away. You could even skip this at the beginning, as it does give you a little bit of maximum spirit, but it does give you attack speed as well, which is really important for the build. But it's really important to get this Lust for Carnage straight away. So what I would actually do if you're leveling up your Paragon board, come on up, work your way up, and you go up here up the left. You could just put 1 point in the glyph, so you could just put it in so long while you're working your way past. And then you just come straight down here, grab Lust for Carnage, and then you actually want to get all the points over here around this glyph socket, so you can actually get the full benefit out of the werewolf glyph with the willpower over there on all the nodes. And then you can actually go back down the bottom, grab that, you can go up the top, grab the ferocity for the damage, grab this one over here for the feral for this damage. Then once you've grabbed everything over there, then you make your way over to the right, and we will attach the Heightened Malice board. Well, we'll actually pick this up at a much later date, but for now we're just going up and we're grabbing the glyph socket over there with Fang and Claw, as it's going to boost all of these magic nodes. And then once you level up the glyph over there, I believe it's like level 12 or something, my glyph, yeah, 13. Once you level it up to 15, it's going to increase the radius, and then all of these glyph or these sockets over here will all be getting increased as well. Even that intellect one there, I want to pick it up, as I still am lacking the intellect to proc that one on the bonus there at the bottom. And then eventually what I would do is I'd come back down to this tree, and I'd start working my way over from the side of here. You attach the Inner Beast. You won't actually be picking up this legendary node, as it's not really that powerful for us, as we are pretty much in wolf all the time, so we don't really shapeshift in and out that often. So I would say not to pick that up. You want to come into this tree, and then that I would actually not pick it up either, maybe, but armor does have diminishing returns later on, so I don't really want to go for them. But I do want to grab these two nodes. We had Nimble, attack speed, and just flat damage, really good. And then shapeshifting skill damage as well as willpower. And obviously we'll be picking up this glyph socket. And in that glyph socket, I'm probably going to put in Spirit. As you can see there, critical strikes increase the damage an enemy takes from you by 2% for 20 seconds, up to 12%. And then as well, you gain for every 5 dexterity within range. Your core skills deal 6.3 increased critical strike damage, and that will go up as you level it up. Mine is almost level 15. As I was using that on my pulverized build. So what I would do, eventually come here, put the spirit in there, grab this, and then we'll come on over and then grab Heightened Malice just through the top here. But then after that, I'm not sure how many points I'll have left over. We might end up going for Overturn, Toxic Bane, or I actually had another crazy idea where attaching on this board, we would put on Constricting Tendrils. And then if we actually rotate, I believe we can get the glyph a little bit closer, maybe. It seems to be a little bit closer. Either the glyph on that side or the glyph on this side, just to really get yourself another glyph socket. I'm not even sure what we'd put in there, but I'm sure we'll be able to pick up something really cool. And then nature magic doesn't really do much, but the maximum life, I would actually pick that up, as maximum life is really good because it's going to buff your healing, because you're going to have more health. So more health, more life healing with everything in the build. But that is it for the video, really lengthy one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, ask me down below in the comments, or join the Discord as well. Trying to build it up for you guys. We have over 155 odd members in there now. I see people joining every other day. Really cool. Join up. Let's get the community booming. We can help each other with carries, builds, just anything. Come chat it up, and we'll see how it all goes. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please drop a like and a sub, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Augiesaint now.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the